Hello, thank you for joining from wherever you are and whatever time of day it is. And today's daf is daf 16 Obed A, and that's from the current Talmud Bavli Chullin. So I'm going to dive straight in. So it says, Kashan ahadade Ela lav shamamina v'shenei ben ha-mechubad meikaro Letalosh Vaso Chibro Shamamina. Essentially, the two clauses in the Bible are difficult as they contradict each other. Since the two clauses states that slaughter with a blade that is attached is valid, and that the latter clause states that slaughter is not valid. Rather, one must not conclude from it that there is a difference between a case where the blade was attached from the outset and a case where the blade was detached. And ultimately he reattached it. The Gemara affirms indeed learn from it. So it's saying yes, they are in fact. Well, one must not conclude that there is difference, so we must conclude that there is no difference. The master said, in a case of one who slaughters the mechanism, what's the mechanism? Has shilchet muchni. One may affix a knife to a stone or wooden wheel and turn the wheel with his hand or his foot and place it at the neck of an animal or bird so that it is slaughtered with the turning of the wheel. Then the Rashba. Some say that one should not do abomination, but the slaughter is valid after the fact. That's the Rambam see the Shach. If the wheel is turned by water and one places the animal adjacent to the wheel as it is turning, the slaughter is not valid. If a person released the water that caused the wheel to turn, the slaughter is valid after the fact because it was generated by the force of his action. However, this applies only if the neck of the animal was cut on the first turn of the wheel. From the second turn of the wheel onward, the slaughter is not valid, and that is not generated by the force of his action, rather it is generated by the flow of the water. So it seems to be say that it's got to be the action of the person rather than the action of the water. The Rambam Sefer Kedusha Shechita 2:13 Shulchan Aruch 7:1. But with a knife attached to it, his slaughter is valid. Then what asks, but isn't it taught in the Bible that slaughter is not valid? The Gemara answers, this contradiction is not difficult. This Bible which rules that the slaughter is valid is the case where the knife was attached to the potter's wheel. And there's a picture of a potter's wheel in the book. And you can see that. Sort of. Movement generated by the potter pressing on the pedal. His movement, since the slaughter was performed by force of the person's action, the slaughter is valid. That by which the slaughter is not valid is in the case where the water is attached to a water wheel. So a picture of a water wheel here. Shana Demaya water wheel. Since the slaughter was not performed by the force of the person's actions, the slaughter is not valid. If you wish to instead, the ruins of both this bite and that bite are in a case where the knife was attached to the water wheel, and the contradiction is not difficult. This bite, which rules that the first slaughter is valid, is a case where the movement of the slaughter is generated by primary force, as the person releases the water that turns the wheel, and on that initial turn of the wheel, the knife slaughters the animal. That by just rules that the slaughter is not valid is the case of the slaughter generated by secondary force, as the knife slaughters the animal on the second turn of the wheel. And this is like that of which Rav Papa says, in the case of a certain person who bound another, one who binds another places him in a place from which he cannot escape, and floods the area with water, thereby drowning him. It executes for murdering him, provided the flow of water that drown the victim is by his actions in accordance with the opinion of Papa. 13:84:1, and diverted the flow of Bidka from the Akkadian took to meaning flow of water upon him, and he died. The one who diverted the water is liable for his murder. What's the reason? It is because those were his arrows that affected his murder. The water effectively were the arrows which murdered him, and this matter applies in the case where he killed a person by primary force, and the person was proximate to him and was directly drowned by the water. But if the person was further away and was caught by secondary force, Rashi explains that the primary force means that the person was caught immediately when the water was released, and the victim was tied adjacent to the barrier. By contrast, secondary force when the victim is tied at a distance from the barrier. There were more disagreed and hold that even if the victim was tied at a distance from the barrier, it is considered primary force as though he fired an arrow and killed him. Therefore, he suggests two alternative distinctions. One is the primary force refers to the water that bursts forth immediately upon removal of the barrier. It's parallel to firing an arrow that is propelled by one moving his hand from a bowstring. While secondary force refers to the water that flows. The second distinction is that secondary force refers to water whose flow was temporarily delayed and then continued. As the water flowed on its own, it is not by his direct action, rather it is by mere indirect action, and he is exempt. Rav sat behind Rav, and Rabbi here sat before Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, and Rabbi Yehuda Nasi sat and said, from where is it derived that slaughter is performed specifically with a blade that is detached? It is derived from a verse. As it stated, and Abram stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. In Genesis 22:10, Rav said to Rav here, what is he saying? Rav here said to Rav, he's saying an incorrect reason, comparable to the letter Vav that is on the rough surface of a tree trunk. Usta is a tree trunk, from the Akkadian upu, meaning tree trunk. So note the Vav that is written on the tree trunk, the reference is to a meaningless matter. Like writing as a Vav on a tree trunk that is filled with fishes, rendering the letter unreadable because either because the Vav merely resembles another fisher or because the ink is absorbed into the tree. Alternatively, Vav in its context is reference to the fishes in that tree, says Rashi in the Orach. This means that the verse proves nothing more than any other verse for being a Jewish Amargola. But didn't Rabbi Yehuda Nasi say a verse as proof for a statement? The Gemara answers, the verse teaches us the diligence of Abraham. Abraham, immediately after he bound Isaac on the altar, Abraham reached for the knife and did not embrace Isaac like a father taking leave of his son. Alternatively, this refers to the fact that Abraham prepared the knife in advance, so that he immediately acted to it and bani hayada. So the knife, a knife prepared to slaughter Isaac, it does not teach any halacha concerning ritual slaughter. But with the issue of slaughter with a detached knife, Rabbi said it's obvious to me that considering an item that was attached and ultimately one attached it, with regard to the matter of idol worship, is the halacha status of a detached item. As the Master says, one who bows to his house and renders it forbidden, one who bows to his house renders it forbidden in accordance with the statement of Vav, Sefer Mother Hilchot Avodah 8:4 Shulchan Aruch 153 as an object of idol worship. It enters your mind to say that this halacha status is that of an attached item, and written in regard to idolatry. That goes upon the high mountain, Deuteronomy 12:2. With regard to any item that one cannot hold in his hands, it is not man-made, even if it is worshipful, may derive benefit from it. Therefore, one who worships items attached to the ground, e.g. mountains, springs, and trees, is not rendered prohibited to derive benefit from them. Under the Mishnah on Avodah 45, Imam the Sefer Mother Hilchot Avodah 8:1 Shulchan and 45:1. But the mountains are not their gods, as the items attached to the ground are never rendered objects forbidden as objects of idol worship. The halachic status of a house built from stones that was detached is that of a detached item. With regard to the matter of rendering seeds susceptible to its impurity, the dispute between the Tanaim, as we learned in the Mishnah, Mashirin 4:3. In the case of one who placed a bowl on the wall while it's raining, so the bowl will be rinsed. The liquids render food susceptible to its impurity only if they are detached from the ground or the cloud, and they were detached with the violation of the owner of the food. If the liquid was not attached with his violation, even if it fell upon the food with his violation, it does not render the food susceptible to impurity. Therefore, if one placed a bowl on a wall so the bowl be rinsed, the water in it renders produce that he placed in its impurity, as the water was attached with his violation. If we placed the bowl on the wall to protect the wall which is not considered detached and therefore does not render the produce susceptible to impurity and attachment. The Rambam says, and arrived there. Rainwater. If the water from the bowl then falls onto produce, that's on the rubric of the verse. But when the water is placed upon the seed, Leviticus 11:38. Food items are not susceptible to impurity when exposed to a primary source of rich impurity before coming into contact with water or one of 6 other liquids, as stated. But when water is placed upon the seed, and any of their carcass falls upon it, is impure for you. Leviticus 11:38. Food is then susceptible to impurity only if the liquid fell upon the food in the violation of the owner, e.g. if one went into both water and the liquid then fell from that object onto the food. According to Rashi and Ravid, in that case there is no need for a specific intent that the water falls on the food. Though the Rambam disagrees, see the Meiri. If water fell of its own violation upon the food that is attached to the ground, e.g. if one filled the system with it, the water renders the food susceptible to impurity only if it falls upon the food itself, violation of the owner, e.g. if one puts his hand in the water in order to then clean his food. The water is like a state of liquid that he poured of the violation of food seeds. Consequently, he renders him susceptible to impurity. But if he placed the bowl there so that the wall will not be damaged, it's on the rubric of the verse. But when water is placed upon the seed, since he had no intent to use the water, he is not considered to have entered the bowl of his own violation, and does not render produce susceptible to impurity. And this mission itself is difficult, as the inference from the first clause and the last clause are contradictory. In the first clause he said, in the case where one who placed the bowl on the wall so that the bowl will be rinsed with the rainwater, as in the rubric of the verse, but when the water is placed on the seed, and the water renders produce susceptible to impurity, and if he placed the bowl so that the wall will be rinsed by means of the bowl, if one placed a vessel on a wall for the purpose of rinsing the wall, if it is the wall of a house, the water can render food susceptible to impurity because the state of the item that was attached is that of a detached item. Therefore, the state of the water on the wall is like that of the water in a vessel. But if it is the wall of a cave, with all the subsequent state of the water is that the water touches the ground, and therefore does not render food susceptible to impurity, according to the opinion of Papa. And same with the Hawaii Hakatum and 12:3. The bowl is not under the rubric of the verse, but when water is placed upon the seed, that water would not render produce susceptible to impurity, because the intent of the water rinse the wall, which is the item attached to the ground. And then the mission teaches in the latter clause, if he placed the bowl so the wall will not be damaged, it is not under the rubric of the verse, but when water is placed upon the seed. By inference, if he placed the bowl so that the wall will be rinsed, the rubric of the verse, but when the water is placed upon the seed, as a wall has the state of a detached item, since it was built from stones that were detached. Rabbi Elazar said, the Mishnah is disjointed, tava, disjointed. Rabbi Hanani explains that tava is an explanation that underscores the matters that follow. It is as though he is saying of course there is dispute, although it is not explicit. The Tana who taught this first clause does not teach that second clause. There is a Tanaic dispute whether the status of a wall that is built from detached stones is that of an attached item or a detached item. But Baba said the entire Mishnah is of the opinion of one Tana. This first clause is in the case of the wall of a cave, which is attached from the outset. The latter clause is in the case of a wall of a building, which is built from stones that were attached on the ground. And this is what the Mishnah is saying. In the case of one who places the bowl on a wall, that the bowl be rinsed with the rainwater that is under the rubric of the verse, but when water is placed on the seed, and water renders produce of impurity being rinsed, if you place the bowl so that the wall will be rinsed by means of the bowl, that is not under the rubric of the verse, but when water is placed on the seed. This is slightly confusing. In what case is the statement said? It is said in the case of the wall of a cave, which is always attached to the ground, but in the case of a wall of a building, whose stones were attached to be reattached, if you place the wall so that the wall will not be damaged, that is when it is not in the same rubric of the verse, but when the water is placed upon the seed. And if he places the bowl so that the water will be rinsed, that is under the rubric of the verse, or those who placed upon the seed. Rabbi raises a dilemma. In the case of a blade that was attached, and ultimately one attached it, was slaughtered, what's the halacha? One may not slaughter with a blade that was attached from the ground and later attached. If he slaughtered with it, his slaughter is valid, even if he subsumed the knife to the ground, provided it did not take root in the ground. The Rosh explains that if he subsumed the knife to the ground, his slaughter is not valid, and that is the ruling of several later commentaries. Rambam Sefer Kedush Hilchos Shechita 1:19 Shcholoch Yodei 6:2 and Marashal Taz Nashachta. The Gemara suggests, common hair proof from a bite. If there was a flint emerging from a wall, or a reed arising from the ground on its own, and he slaughtered with it, his slaughter is not valid. Since the wall itself was made from stones that were detached and subsequently reattached, the slaughter is not valid. The Gemara rejects that proof. What are we dealing with here? We are dealing with the case of the wall of a cave that was always attached. The one of the bites is also precise in support of that explanation, as the Talmud teaches that the case of the flint emerging from a wall juxtaposed to it, and therefore similar to the case of a reed arising from the ground on its own, which was also always attached to the martha. Indeed, known from it, and this is the case. The Gemara suggests, coming here from a biter, if one embedded a knife in a wall and slaughtered with it, if one embedded a knife in a wall or a detached item and drew the neck of the animal, not even until it was slaughtered, his slaughter is valid after the fact, provided that the neck of the animal is below and the knife above. If the neck of the animal is above and the knife is below, it is considered the weight of the animal will cause the animal. For a knife will cause a simonim by pressing rather than drawing back and forth. If he slaughtered a bird on a knife embedded in the wall, when the bird was above the knife, below the knife, the slaughter is valid. According to the explanation of Papa, that's Rambam Sefer Kedush Hilchos Shechita 2:8 Shulchan Yodei 6:4. His slaughter is valid. The knife is attached and the reattached, and the slaughter is valid. The one rejects the proof. The reason that the slaughter is valid is that the knife is different, and he does not subsume it to the wall. The Gemara suggests, come here, proof from an earlier point in that biter. If one slaughtered with an item that is attached to the ground, the slaughter is valid. In the case that it was attached and then attached, as later in the biter, a case is cited when the blade was always attached and the slaughter is not valid. The Gemara rejects the proof. Perhaps the phrase that follows the biter, if one embedded a knife in a wall, is explained in the previous case, and accordingly, what is the meaning of a touch the ground? It is in the case of a knife. I have seen that. If he embedded it in the wall, slaughtered with it, it's slaughter will be valid. Therefore, there is no proof from this biter. The master said in the biter, if one embedded a knife in a wall and slaughtered with it, its slaughter is valid. Rav Anan says that Shmuel says the Tana taught this halacha only in a case where the knife is above and the animal's neck is below. The way the animal's head draws it back and forth on the blade. But in a case where the knife is below and the animal's neck is above, the slaughter is not valid because unless he pressed the knife due to the weight of the animal, thereby cutting the spine without drawing the knife back and forth, which invalidates the slaughter of the Gemara, but isn't it totally explicit in the biter. Any item that cuts one may slaughter, whether with the blade that is attached to the ground or with the blade that is attached from the ground. When the knife is below and the neck of the animal is above, or the knife is above and the neck of the animal is below. As Livid said, the bite is taught disjunctively. In a case where the knife is below and the neck of the animal is above, the slaughter is valid when the blade is detached. Later commentators disagree whether this halacha is ab initio, which seems to be indicated by the language of the biter, or whether here too the slaughter is valid only after the fact due to concern who may press the knife. But every slaughter involved in the neck of the animal below the knife ab initio, the common custom for the latter opinion sees Shach Puri Chadosh and Rabbi Akiva Eiga on Shulchan Yodei 6:4. In the case where the knife is above and the neck of the animal is below, slaughter is valid even when the blade is attached. Papa said, the Bible teaches that one may slaughter even when the attached knife is below, referring to the slaughter of a bird, which is light, and there is no concern that the weight of the bird will cause the slaughter to press the knife onto the knife. Rav Hizda says that Rav Yitzchak says, and some say it was taught in the Bible, 5 matters were said with regard to the stalk of a reed. Kerumish shel kaneh. One may slaughter with the stalk of a reed of a marsh or any other blade, provided it is sharp and smooth. It is prohibited to slaughter with other reeds or glass because splinters and the slivers are liable to puncture the simonim in accordance with the statement about Hista. Most prominent later authorities prohibit slaughtering with the stalk of a reed and rule that the slaughter is not valid even if you examine the stalk after the slaughter and found that it was smooth. Today, the custom throughout the Jewish world is slaughtered exclusively with a metal knife. Sefer Kedusha Hilchos Shechita 114 Shulchan Aruch Odea 61 and Tatan Pi Chodesh there. This is for cutting due to sharpness. One may neither slaughter with it, just consider that splinters will be separated and embedded in the simonim, invalidating the slaughter, nor circumcised with it. One may not perform circumcision with the stalk of a reed because splinters could separate from the stalk and sever the penis. Ideally, one performs circumcision using a knife with a metal blade. I'm going to say for the same reason. Due to the potential danger, not cut meat with it, lest splinters become embedded in the meat and endanger one who eats it. Not pick one's teeth with it, lest he wound himself. Nor wipe with it after relieving oneself. One may not wipe himself with dry grass, as wiping with flammable objects could cause damage to the rectum. Today, when bathrooms are not in fields, one may wipe with flammable objects without concern. Nevertheless, even today, one should not wipe dry grass with liable to cause scratches. In the comments, there. The reason Talmud Shabbat 8.3, the reason given it due to evil spirits. In Bereshit Rabbah 56, it states that one may not wipe one's hand on the stalk of a reed to relieve oneself. The brighter teachers. One may not slaughter with it. One may neither slaughter with it. The Gemara asks, but isn't taught in the brighter with any sharp object. One may slaughter an animal with a flint or with glass shards or with the stalk of a reed. However, says there the reference is to a specific type of reed that grows in a marsh. According to Rashi, the reference is to plants of the genus Carex, which consists of plants from the Saporaceae family that grow wild in marshes and among leaves that are about 1.5 centimeters wide. The explanation is cited in the Aruch. One explanation citing one of the Gaonim is that the reference is to the specific reed, the reed of a marsh, which is sharp and remains smooth. Second, it also says Rabbeinu Gershom Mor Hagolah, and Rashi is that the reference is to a blade of a specific type of wild grass that can be used for slaughter when it dries and hardens, which becomes a smooth, hard surface when it dries. The Bible teaches nor cut meat with it, but cuts with the stalk or reed the innards of fish, which is burnt. But Rav Huna cuts with the meat of a bird, which is soft and will not cause the stalk of the reed to splinter. The Brisa teaches nor wipe with it after leaving oneself. The Gemara objects derive that one may not wipe with it because the Master said one who wipes with an object flammable, his lower teeth, i.e. the rectum holding test in place, fall out. In the part of discussion in Shabbat 82a, the reference is to the lower teeth of the rectum, which are the ligaments and muscles that hold the intestines in place. If we especially due to overexertion while defecating, the intestine may be detached from its mooring, resulting in rectal prolapse. According to Rashi, as cited by Shita Mekubesed, the reference is to both teeth in his mouth and the lower teeth to which the rectum is connected. Some understand this as a natural process and explain it. Nowadays it's not a problem of being becoming accustomed to doing so, and as the verse states in Psalm 116:6, the Lord preserves the simple. This verse is understood to mean that people need not be overly concerned about potential danger while acting in an acceptable manner, like in Moshe Chaim 3. We understand this as an esoteric danger caused by evil spirits, and that is a concern only in the field. The concern was that people would be performed sorcery by wiping in this manner, and that is no longer a concern. The Prophet said in explanation, the reference in the Bible is not wiping after relieving oneself, Rather is speaking with regard to wiping the blood or dirt from the opening of a wound. The Mishnah teaches all slaughter hakah shachtin, or may always slaughter. The Gemara interprets the phrase all slaughter hakah shachtin to mean all animals are included in the midst of slaughter, even a bird. When one wishes to eat the meat of domesticated or undomesticated animals or birds, there is a mitzvah to slaughter them before eating the meat. And that's from the Rambam Sefer Kedusha Choshechita 1:1, or Yodea 13:1. With regard to the statement, one may always slaughter. Who is the Tana who taught this halacha? Rabbi said, it is Rabbi Shmuel. I was told in the Bible with regard to the birds, when the Lord your God shall expand your border as he promised you, and you shall say, I will eat flesh, you may eat flesh with all the desire of your soul. Deuteronomy 12:20. Rabbi Shmuel says the verse comes only to permit consumption, not sacrificial meat of desire. The Jewish people, as at the outset, the meat of desire was forbidden to them, and anyone who wanted to eat meat would sacrifice the animal as an offering. After the priest sprinkled the blood, it was permitted for one to eat meat. When they entered Eretz Yisrael, the meat of desire was permitted for them. They could slaughter and eat meat wherever they chose. Rabbis added, and now that the Jewish people were exiled, one might have thought that they returned to their initial prohibition. Therefore, we learn in the Mishnah one may always slaughter non-sacrificial meat. Rabbi Yosef objects to this. Yes, so this phrase, one may always slaughter, is inappropriate. The Tanna should have taught, one may always slaughter and eat, as a matter of permission primarily related to eating the meat, not to slaughtering the animal. Furthermore, initially was read that the meat of desire was forbidden. It was because in the wilderness they were proximate to the tabernacle, they could partake of sacrificial meat from the table of God. And ultimately was the reason that the meat of desire was permitted. The reason was that in Eretz Yisrael they were distant from the tabernacle. That's the end of the daf. Thank you very much for joining me, and I wish you a very good day. All the best. Bye.